And we are live on the Honest Gabe report, live in downtown Indianapolis. Today is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Here in Indianapolis today. Today we have on Johannes Poulard, one of our guests always on here. Johannes, it's always good to have you on here. How's it going tonight?
We're on the air?
Yep, we're on the air. How's it going, Johannes?
Okay, okay.
So we have a couple subjects we're going to talk about tonight. A couple things is we're going to be talking about Mayor Joe Hogsett, the town drunk. Okay. Oh, we gotta love the town drunk. Oh man, that dude is drinks more alcohol than the frat parties all combined here in Marion County. Oh gosh, he's the reason why Indiana passed alcohol laws because apparently he doesn't know when to say no. So, um, there are rumors going
So
around.
he's like Boris Yeltsin.
Who's that?
That was the first president of Russia.
He was a drunk.
He was a drunk.
Oh gosh.
Oh, he was constantly drunk. I mean, every New Year's Eve he would get on TV totally wasted, and 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 he would be like, "Oh, Российской Федерации." I mean, he was so wasted that
Oops.
you could barely
Damn.
understand what he said.
Yeah. So there's rumors going around that Joe Hogshit is actually planning to run for mayor for a fourth term. I can't believe it. You know, the Democrats really don't have anyone that can actually
Oh
fundraise
God.
here in Marion County. Like he's like the Joe Biden, okay? We just like push the drunk on stage and just call it a day and like Joe Hogsett will say what he needs to say and he like fumbles, and mumbles and then the Democratic leadership is like, "Let's get ready to mumble," as they always do because they're pathetic here in Marion County. I always wonder if like Joe Hogsett wrote speeches for Joe Biden because those two are literally. You know what's crazy is Joe Joe Biden has like severe like dementia, and Joe Hogsett's like a drunk. So like whoever writes their speeches is probably paid a decent amount just to like spit out words every now and then.
Yeah,
So
word salad.
word salad, yes, yes. I'm gonna.
Word salad. Of course, that's for. I like to call her Carmela Harris.
Oh yes. Oh gosh, she was terrible too. Oh my gosh, she was as bad as
Oh my
Joe.
God.
Gosh. But Joe
Well,
Hog
you know
shit.
what they say in India. What they say in India. Kamala Rini hai. Shahid wo mera lampecha nechati hai.
What is that?
And I'm
Elaborate.
sure if you have any Hindi speakers on this channel, they're probably laughing their asses off right now after what I just said.
What is that, Johannes? What is like? Explain that for our followers that speak English.
Okay, Kamala Rini hai. Shahid wo mera lampecha nechati hai. Basically means Kamala's a slut. Perhaps she wants to blank, blank, blank. You get the picture.
Yeah, yeah. So Joe Hogg said, I think a couple months ago he had a fundraiser here in Marion County, and a couple Democrats went out and protested him. They just pushed by the machine. That's all it is. But he's planning to run for mayor probably again for the fourth time here in 2027. And I just want to tell you, Joe, let's drink to it, okay? Let's drink to it. I don't have an alcohol beverage. I have like a Pepsi, so you can pretend it's an
I've got a little
alcoholic
bit of
drink,
water
Joe.
left in my glass.
What happened, Johannes?
I said I got a little bit of water left in my glass.
Let's drink to that, Johannes. Let's drink to Joe. Joe Hogsett running a fourth term. The town drunk. Can't even fix potholes. Cheers.
Well, he should hire Pothole Pete.
You mean butt plug is what you call him?
Yeah.
Oh man, man, who comes up with these
There's a
names for
guy who
these
goes to my
politicians?
church. He's from South Bend. He calls him Pothole Pete because
Pothole Pete,
when he was mayor of
South Bend.
South Bend, he did absolutely nothing for the streets in South Bend, and they're to this very day still full of potholes.
You know that's why they had to put cones all over the craters because Pete thought it was a glory hole.
Oh,
Ooh, shit. So yeah, it's just man, I'll tell you what, these Democrats just run and run and run until they die. That's what we see here in Indiana always, and so.
and they're
Uh,
corrupt as hell.
oh, I know. Tell me about it. They'll weaponize the judicial system against you. Like they're Indiana is far advanced in the federal government in learning how to weaponize the judicial system, the police system, the courts, the media to go after anyone they want to. Right, Johannes? We saw that last Sunday. How they went after Doug Bernanke.
Yeah,
They really are just scumbags. So,
and Doug Bernanke is a real good man. I
oh,
mean,
I know.
I've known him since I was knee high to a grasshopper. He was the Michiana Shores town attorney for a very long time. Him and my dad actually worked on the comprehensive plan of Michiana Shores back in 1983. He even played tennis with some of the kids in Michiana Shores, including my brother, even though my brother's not really that big of a tennis player. But he was a good man. He was a family man. Uh, he was just on the whole a very good man.
Yeah, I think you introduced me to Doug in like 2020 or 2021, something like that. So it's just
I
sad.
think Doug introduced me to you. Doug Bernanke introduced me to you.
You think so? I thought I met you through the what do you call it? Through Kurt Isley in that group when they were starting up. Remember Citizens for Liberty with oh Tim Dyer. Oh
No,
gosh.
that came a little later. You were on that Facebook page, as was I, that Doug Bernanke started, the Republicans against Governor Holcomb.
Oh, that was Bernanke who made that.
Doug Bernanke was the first admin of that.
I did not know that. I've totally forgot
Oh
about that.
yeah, Doug Bernanke was the first admin of that Facebook group.
Wow. Just wow. Oh, excuse me. Should never drinking soda.
And then I think he made you and me an admin after a while
Yeah, and then I had
because I guess he went on to New England where he's at now.
yeah, and then I got zucked by Zuckerberg. Zuck the cuck is what I like to call him.
Zuck the Cuck, yep.
Yeah.
Or you can also call him Marxist Mark.
Mark says Mark. I like it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a guy on Alex Jones talk. He said, "Well, which one would you prefer, Zuck the Cuck or Marxist Mark?" I
That's
like
funny.
both of them.
Yeah, both of them are pretty good. I remember my a good friend of mine in Southern Indiana. He would say, "Fucked by zucked again." I swear, he would say it every time. Me and him had like a running had like a running bet, okay, or like a running joke, okay. Basically, it was to see how long it would be before our accounts got deleted, like zucked. And then, so I think I actually ended up winning that because I tell you, I've had to create so many of Gabriel Whitley accounts because Zuck the Cuck decided to delete my stuff, especially during COVID. Oh gosh, they went full on Nazi during the COVID pandemic. You couldn't
Oh, they
talk
were
about
nuts. I mean,
anything.
I've been in Facebook jail. I've been in Facebook jail 30 days at a time during the pandemic because I talked about violating the mask mandate, refusing the COVID vaccine, uh, you know, calling on calling on the truckers to I was calling for a truck strike before the Canadian truckers started. I was calling on the truckers to come in and shut down Washington D.C. after the election was certified for Biden,
Yeah.
and I got put in Facebook jail for 30 days for that.
Remember, they would also like go back, like while we were in Facebook jail, we get a notification. We get like another 30 days, another 60 days for like old posts that we posted.
I've heard people. I don't think that really happened to me, but I know people that has happened to.
Yeah, that happened to me a lot. I got sick and tired of it. So what I did was I just deleted my account, and made another one, started fresh.
There was a friend of mine. That's the same friend I sent that article about Senator Shaheen and Todd Young, the one that really went viral about the color revolutions.
Oh yeah, that was a good article.
Uh, yeah, she was in Facebook jail a lot too because she and and the funny thing is her stuff. Sure, some of it was in English, but most of it was in Georgian, and even her stuff against the vaccine in Georgian, they put her in Facebook jail for putting it up in Georgian. In Georgian.
Yeah, Marx's Mark went way too fascist on that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
She
yeah,
shared she shared something about the vaccine having aborted fetal stem cells in it that
that's a big
Guram
no-no.
Palawanishvili's book, Guram Palawanishvili's group was putting out, and she got in Facebook jail for that. And then, of course, in 2022, Guram Palawanishvili led that demonstration against the Pride Parade in Tbilisi, where they actually climbed the front facade of the building where the LGBT Congress of Europe had its office at, took the pride flag down, knocked it down in the street, set fire to it, and Facebook basically deleted his account after that,
Oh gosh.
and that was all over the Georgian news, and it even made the Russian and the Belarusian news too.
Hey, Johannes, you want to hear something hilarious?
What?
Okay, so remember how I was talking about Joe Hog shit earlier?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to know what Joe Hog shit did that was actually sort of hilarious that pissed off his whole base?
What did he do?
He canceled the Pride Parade for Jew. Oh, they are all so mad. Oh god, they are all so mad. So apparently, what
Well, I'm
happened?
sure. I'm sure the queers are going to have their pride parade in Valpo like they do down
Oh,
here.
they're gonna have it at the state fair or something like that. I heard something about that. But so what was funny was how it got canceled was is the mayor decided not to renew their permits. Is what came out of the mayor's office. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, wow, Joe. Like, and then we have this reporter named James Brigg, who's like a woke Democrat establishment writer for Indy Star, right? He does
Yeah.
what regurgitates whatever the establishment tells him to, right? So like it was a rare it was a rare thing I ever agreed. Like I very rarely agree with James Brigg or Jim's Brigg, and basically what he said was Joe Hogshead's like the Republican. Was like a Republican, and then Greg Ballard was like a Democrat because Mayor Ballard defunded the police. He also was big on this was a Republican. Greg Ballard defunded the police here in Marion County. He also, was big on getting e uh, those e vehicles out here and like the e buses, the e vehicles
Uh huh.
buses, and then like Joe Hog shit's like, oh, more money for police, no gay prides, less helping the corporations out. Like I sort of have to agree with James Brigg on that one because
Well, Governor Holcomb wanted to defund the police too. I remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Holcomb faced a lot of
The
backlash.
state police chief really got pissed off at him.
Oh, I know. I remember that. That shit was major. You know what's crazy is all the Republicans just went and voted for him, and then even like Democrats, because Democrats were like, "Well, he's actually doing a good job with the pandemic. He's saving lives." Well, fuck that. He didn't save no lives. People were already dying in the first place. Like you look at the numbers from
Yeah, and
2019.
what he did was exacerbate the nursing home abuse because loved ones couldn't visit the patients in the nursing homes,
Yeah, he was literally like
so they
Andrew
were at the
Cuomo.
mercy of whatever aid that you know.
Yeah, Holcomb and Kumo, literally, were just killing old people, whacking them just for fucking state money. Oh, we need federal money. Oh, let's put all the old people and lock them up in the homes
Uh
and then
huh.
kill them all. Allegedly, allegedly, I don't
Well,
want to get sued again.
but I'll tell you this. Um, I think one of the reasons why we're seeing the kind of police that we're seeing now, uh, this whole defund the police thing, that whole movement, it was all done by design. It was done intentionally to get the good cops off the force, uh, you know, and the whole George Floyd thing and this whole summer of rage is actually America's color revolution. And and uh, Dmitry Simes, who's a very, very well known and very astute political scientist. Dmitry Simes was actually, back in the 70s and the 80s, he used to be an expert on the Soviet Union, and he would always appear on PBS, especially on the McLaughlin Group, which my dad used to watch. It would come on like every Saturday night at 6 in the evening, and whenever the topic was the Soviet Union, they'd have Dmitry Simes on there, and later Russia. And then when this country got woke, Dmitry Simes went to Russia, and he's now on Russian television. He has a TV show called Большая Игра, or The Great Game, and he still goes with his line of expertise, which is U.S. Russian relationship and the politics between the two countries, and he basically stated on his show that the whole summer of rage, this whole George Floyd thing, this whole defund the police was America's color revolution, and it went along the same playbook, which I've been saying too, went along the exact same playbook as the Rose Revolution in Tbilisi, which I witnessed because I was there when it happened, the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, which I also witnessed, then the Maidan Revolution in Kiev in 2014, the first experiment in color revolutions, which happened in the early 2000s in Serbia to overthrow Slobodan Milosevic. And then, of course, you had the Tulip Revolution in Kyrgyzstan, the Twitter revolution in Moldova, etc. And they also had the Arab Spring, and Shaheen was involved with that as well. Um, and another person who made a similar comment, he made this on the Georgian TV channel Imedi, was our last ambassador to the Soviet Union and first ambassador to Russia, Jack Matlock, who's
Huh.
actually a very astute political scientist in his own right, and he teaches at some university in the East Coast somewhere. I can't remember which one. But Jack Matlock made a similar comment, and Jack Matlock, uh, I think he saw he was the U.S. ambassador to the Soviet Union towards the end of Brezhnev. So he saw. I think he became our ambassador in the early '80s. So just before Brezhnev passed away, Brezhnev passed away, I think, in 1983, and then after Brezhnev, the Secretary General of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union was the head of the KGB, Yuri Andropov, and he lasted a year before he died. Andropov became the Secretary General of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union in 1983, and then he died in like 1984, and then after him was Konstantin Chernenko, who was already sick to begin with. He lasted about 6 months, and then in early 1985, Gorbachev became the last Secretary General of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and then he ended that office, became the president of the Soviet Union, and then by late 1991, uh, Yeltsin went behind Gorbachev's back, together with Leonid Kravchuk of Ukraine, uh, uh, Vladimir Shushkevich of Belarus, and Nursultan Nazarbayev of Kazakhstan, and had the Belovezhskaya Pushcha agreement, which was held in Belovezhskaya Pushcha, Belarus, uh, to end the Soviet Union and form the CIS, or the Commonwealth of Independent States, which was basically what evolved in modern day Russia, and the independence of all the 15 republics of the former Soviet Union. And Jack Matlock saw that when he was our ambassador over there, and I I think he was our ambassador. I think Clinton changed our ambassador. Changed our ambassador in 1993. I think 1992, or yeah, late 1992 or early 1993 was Jack Matlock's last year as our ambassador to
So,
Russia.
Johannes, I want to get back on
But
track.
he even mentioned that George Floyd was a yeah.
So I want to get back. I wanted to. I forgot to announce this last time.
Hello.
So, on March
You're cutting
25th,
out. I can't hear you.
can you hear me, Johannes?
I can't hear you, Gabe.
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, Johannes, you
Yeah.
there? Hold on.
No, but the idea of defund the police was to get rid of all the good cops, because they did this in Georgia, they did this in Ukraine, they did this in a whole bunch of countries where they wanted to change the regime.
Johannes, can you hear me better?
I can hear you, but you're still breaking up a little bit.
Okay. I knew yours. I know when you were talking, you were cutting in and out a little bit. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably the damn feds probably listening in our conversation because they have nothing else better to do. Okay, so I wanted to go back and talk about a couple things. Is that okay? So on the 25th, so we started this. I think I think we got intel on the 21st of April, and we were talking to members in Southern Indiana. So it looks like Diego Morales, the incumbent for Secretary of State here in Indiana, Diego just recently announced that he's running for re-election, and then David Shelton, who ran against Diego Morales in 2022, is had announced he's planning to run against Diego Morales again in the 2026 election. And David Shelton, I don't know what the numbers were in the convention. I forgot about it. But basically, to sum it up, is David Shelton. It was between Holly Sullivan and Diego Morales, and Diego Morales ended up beating Holly Sullivan, I believe, in the second round. Because the first round was, again, Holly, Diego, and Shelton, and then all the Shelton voters voted for what do you call it, for Diego in the second round, and Diego ended up, it was like
Yeah.
60-40, something like that. So
Isn't Shelton out of Knox County?
I believe so. I believe so. And I was talking to members in Indiana, and I actually was starting to talk to them on, I believe, on the 25th and the 24th. And so, yeah, David Shelton is actually running against Diego Morales next year. And then we have Yoder, who's planning to run against Todd Young next year. So that's going to be interesting. I will vote for anyone besides Todd
Yoder,
Young.
that's a good Amish name too.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot his first name, but he's a well-known Republican. Has his own consulting firm, so it was interesting.
But
So,
what is his stance? What is his politics?
oh,
Is he
he's a,
going to be another rhino, or is he a good Republican?
well, I don't know. He's a I wouldn't say he's a big rhino, but I know he's sort of like, he held the Trump, what do you call it? The Trump campaign, I think, in 2020 and 2016 here in the Midwest area, and here in Indiana. So very popular. He's a big Trump supporter, and yeah, Todd
Well,
Young's
that's
got to
good.
go. Todd Young's got to go. He's a
Yeah,
terrible senator.
Todd Young. It's time's up for Todd Young as far as I. He might as well run as a Democrat.
Yeah, him and Joe Donnelly can go, frolic in the fucking fields and the cornfields.
Yeah, or
um,
they who knows? They probably do something together over at Bohemian Grove, if you know what I mean.
yeah, they're also with Pete Buttigieg too,
Pete Buttplug, yeah.
and Joe Hogshead's bringing the keg.
You know,
Oh man.
Richard Nixon went to the Bohemian Grove, and he did not like it. He this is a quote of what Richard Nixon said about the Bohemian Grove. He said, "This is the most goddamn faggiest thing I've ever seen in my life."
Oh my goodness.
President Nixon actually said that.
Jesus. It's crazy. Like, almost 100 years ago, we got away with saying words, and now like certain words we can't say. And I'm Hispanic, okay. And some people apparently are colorblind in Indianapolis and don't know what the color of Hispanic is. But I got called a white person by by a by a crooked lawyer who takes EBT as payment for So he takes EBT transactions for if you want legal advice and you got EBT food stamp balance, he'll take it. He'll give you some legal advice. But he told the officers I was white apparently.
Well, I got a better one than that. Okay, my parents conceived me while they were visiting my aunt Jean in Morocco. So if a libtard really gets pissed off at me and calls me a racist, like our good friend Kathleen Holland likes to do
Oh,
on
Kathy
Facebook,
Holland! Shout out to Kathy Holland.
I always tell her, well, since I was conceived in Morocco, I identify as an African American. Oh boy, that pisses her off royally.
Oh,
That pisses her off royally.
I'll never forget. I was down in Kentucky working on the U.S. Senator Rand Paul's campaign, and this Karen. Oh gosh, she was. I was
Oh,
backing
I
up
remember that.
into the gas pump, and I wish I still have my old TikTok account because I don't know if I can't find the video anymore. But and it gained so I went viral on TikTok. It was for less than 24 hours. I went viral. Okay,
I almost died laughing when I saw the video.
it was hilarious. I'm gonna tell the viewers because our viewers don't really know. So I was backing up. So I pulled up and I backed up because my truck was not lined straight. Okay, I'm sorry. Sometimes it happens. Okay, This lady Karen is trying to pull right behind me to get the gas pump because she sees my Let's Go Brandon flags that are flying in the back of my pickup truck, Ram 1500, and this lady goes berserk, okay? And I'll tell you what, I trolled her so bad, her eyes literally popped out of her head, okay? I said, ma'am, I was here first. And then she started getting an argument. I said, ma'am, are you really trying to take a gas pump away from a minority? You're just racist. And her eyes went big. She didn't know what to do. Her eyes were bugging out like a freaking fly. Oh my god. And she went berserk and then she started crying and yada yada yada. And then Tom, a buddy of mine, Thomas, was there, and like Thomas started laughing at her whenever she couldn't get the pump near her car because she was too far away. And I kept calling her a Karen. And remember, Johanna, she goes, I don't know who Karen is, but it ain't me. Remember that, Johannes?
And she goes something like, I don't know who Karen is, but that's not my name.
Yeah. And then Thomas kept saying, Trump loves you, Trump loves you. I was dying from laughter.
Oh, I got a few good
Oh
Karen stories.
man. Oh
I
man.
refused to wear, whenever I did Instacart, I refused to wear a mask, period.
Oh,
Whether
I
it was
hated
doing
wearing those
Instacart,
masks. I wore
going
the
pickup.
shields.
No, I did Grubhub later. I started Grubhub in like late 2021 when already the mask mandate was already lifted. But I would go into these Aldis and these Karens. Oh my God! I was doing an Instacart run in the Aldi in Valpo, and you can tell who was from Jasper County and who was from Valpo because all the Valpo people wore masks. The people from Jasper County, because Jasper County is highly conservative, it's very red county. Uh, they never wore masks, and there was a lady with her little baby in the in that little bench that the shopping carts have up front for the kids,
Yeah.
and neither the kid nor the lady was wearing a mask. I wasn't wearing a mask. And this Karen comes into the store yelling, People, you need to put on the mask. You're going to get all of us sick. So I just loudly say, God, I wish these Karens would mind their own business. And the lady with the kid who also didn't have the mask, she goes, agreed. So the Karen comes up to me and she goes, Sir, you need to put your mask on. And I'm like, relax, Karen. COVID is a hoax. And she goes, I know people who died. How dare you say that? I said, yeah, they died because the hospital was making $50,000 per COVID death certificate.
And they were
Look
also
it up.
they were
Oh,
also putting people in induced comas too, forcing them into that,
yeah,
and putting them on the
yeah, yeah.
ventilators, and they killed them.
You know, these Karens are pretty much old women. Okay, this. When we were in Evansville, when we were working on the Rand Paul campaign in Henderson and in Owensboro, there was a there was a Western Rite Orthodox church in Evansville where I went to liturgy every
Oh, I remember that.
on
Yeah, I
Sunday.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a parishioner at that church. She had the best description of Karens. Your typical Karen is between the ages of 40 and 75, has a purse with a floral design, usually platinum gray hair, uh, uh, kind of chubby, uh, and either wears pink or baby blue running shoes that are either of these four brands: Hoka, Asics, Brooks, or New Balance.
Gosh, she's
And
summing up
you
my
look at your
adopted mother.
typical Karen, they fit that description to a T.
Yeah, That's how my adopted mother dresses every day. Oh gosh, she described my mother. I always call
Well,
Karens.
that's how all these Karens. That's how all these Karens look like. That's how they dress. I mean, I mean, that woman described the Karen, and every Karen that bitched at me for not wearing a mask dressed like that. I mean, I shit you not.
I always said Karens were after Trump. I always said Karens were fat, ugly dykes, because Trump had said that.
Well, they
And
probably are.
well, look
Either
at
that, or they're a bunch of grumpy old women that don't know anything better but to watch The View all day.
well, remember, look at Beetlejuice from Chicago, okay? Mayor Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I call her Lori Dykefoot.
Oh man, oh Jesus. So,
Oh, she was nasty.
what do you think
She
about?
was a
Hey,
nasty lady.
Johannes,
Oh,
Johannes, what do you think about AOC possibly running for president on the Democratic ticket? She is like in the polls right now.
AOC?
Yeah, her and Bernie Sanders. Ooh,
I don't know, but AOC is Mike Savage calls her the occasional cortex.
that is
But
hilarious.
AOC, you know what AOC actually stands for, Gabe? Don't you?
What?
Another overrated cunt.
Oh hell no, that's funny as shit. Here's the thing
That's
is
what Scott calls
that
her.
is funny as hell, and I'm going to remember that. You know what, Scott? Scott, is it okay if I coin that? Okay, I want to coin that. Okay, I want to trademark that. That is a great terminology. Um, so here's my thing about AOC. Okay, I like young people that are in office. But damn, she's dumber than a fucking bag of rocks. It's probably insulting rocks. She's the reason why we have warning labels not to eat soap on the soap dispensaries, okay? She is people like that. AOC is beautiful
Well, she
and
probably she probably goes into the men's lavatories so that she can eat the white mints that are in the urinals.
then she separates the browns, the blacks, and the whites for diversity.
Yeah,
So let me
I
give
you know I I don't get this whole thing, this whole diversity DEI crap. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. It's divisive. It's destroying the fabric of our country. Okay, this country has always been a country of immigrants. Both of my parents were immigrants,
my parents were
and
too.
you know our cultures mingled with each other, and that's what made America America. Okay,
Trust me,
and
Johannes. I'm a minority, and I hate the DEI crap. I hate the minority crap. I hate the pandering.
a
I
lot of
hate the bull
minorities
crap.
hate it.
It's look. Every culture has their celebrations, has their holidays, has their way of lives. Let us do it. Let us do that. But stop pandering to us. Do you think that us Mexicans truly like
Right.
Cinco de Mayo? No, Cinco de Mayo was not. Cinco de Mayo is an American made-up holiday. Okay, these people don't know nothing about what different cultures are. They try to pander and woke to us, and I just hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
It's ridiculous.
It
You
is.
know, a lot of these libtards who fly the Ukrainian flag,
Oh
they
gosh, I can't
probably
stand them.
don't even know that the Christmas carol, Carol of the Bells, is actually a Ukrainian melody.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's actually a Ukrainian melody.
I did not know that. Now I know.
It's actually in Ukraine. Actually, in Ukraine, it's called a shedrivka, which is a New Year's carol. They sing it around New Year's Eve. It's like shedri 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 vochka priletila lasti vochka.
Yeah.
Those are the original words, and there's another one. There's another version of that song in Ukrainian about Jesus being baptized in the Jordan, and it's Oi naritzi na Jordani preletile trian holy. It said I don't know that
Yeah.
one as well as the other one, but it's that carol, the melody of that carol actually was brought here by Ukrainian immigrants. Actually, it probably more than likely came into the United States from Canada because you have a larger number of Ukrainians in Canada than you do in the US because Canada has the largest Ukrainian diaspora in the world.
Yeah.
But you have a good sized Ukrainian diaspora in the U.S. too. Chicago has a rather large Ukrainian diaspora.
Oh yeah. So Johannes, I wanted to go back on AOC, and I just wanted to give a reminder and an advisement. Okay, this is an educated an advisement. Look, when even if it's a Republican, right? It doesn't matter. If she is smoking hot, there's gonna be red flags all around it. So men, you need to stay in control of your thoughts, and you really just need to beware of any hot candidate, like whether it's Nancy Mace. I love Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace is a very beautiful, attractive Republican candidate, um, and AOC is very, very attractive. But men, you need to be careful of any attractive women that's running for office. Not saying that they're all bad. I'm just saying people like
Well, there's some good
AOC.
ones. Marjorie Taylor Greene is pretty good looking, and she's one of the best ones we got.
You know what? I have to agree to disagree on that. Lauren Boebert is actually hotter than what do you call it? Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she likes to get what do you call it? Apparently in the movie theater, she likes to get what do you call it? She never.
Well,
She
that's
had
her
the.
business. All I care about is what she does on the House floor.
Yeah, Lauren Boebert's all right. I think she's a little bit. I think she's far more attractive than Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sorry, that's just my opinion. But people like AOC, you guys need to be wary. And look, as a young person, I want new blood in there. But someone like AOC is going to be a threat to our democracy. And so the youngest person that I could go with is J.D. Vance. Marco Rubio, he ran in 2016.
JD
I didn't
Vance
like his
is good. I like
Yeah,
JD
I
Vance.
like JD Vance too. On the Republican ticket, yeah, I like JD Vance. Now I remember the Libertarian Party ran. Oh my God, this dude was a clown. His name was Chase Oliver. He was a gay man, married, and he was a socialist. He was a socialist libertarian. What in the world, libertarians? You guys lost that. You guys would have had a better chance with Joe Jurgensen and Spike Cohen, okay? Spike Cohen should have ran for president. He would have been a lot better than stupid Chase Oliver. Oh, gosh. He was chasing all of that dick, apparently, in Georgia. That's why. Jesus.
Well, my problem with the Libertarian Party is, with the exception of Donald Rainwater,
Anton,
every
don't,
libertarian,
don't forget.
every libertarian I hear, they push the pot issue way too much.
See,
I mean, like overkill.
you know what, Johannes? I have the same stance as the Ron Paul stance. I don't care what people do in their household. It's none of my, and it shouldn't be the government's issue too. And that's where that's where the libertarian side comes out from me is from. From Ron Paul. Ron Paul had a good. I remember he was talking to it was in North
Yeah, but
Carolina.
he never overemphasized it like they do. I mean, that's
Exactly.
basically all they talk about. It's all pot, all getting high. You know, there are more important issues to talk about than that.
I understand that. I understand that, and that's why I like the Ron Paul plan when it comes to
Oh yeah,
um,
Ron Paul is good. I like
yeah,
Ron
Ron
Paul.
Paul is one of the greatest of all time libertarians. Anything he says, I pretty much agree with. I know he was
But Ron
upset.
Paul is actually a Republican, not a libertarian,
Well,
though he does have libertarian views.
exactly, exactly. Yes, he ran as a Republican, but he also ran as a Libertarian candidate, I believe, in 2008, and then and then he ran as a Republican in 2012. I remember there was some year in that he ran as a Libertarian twice. I don't know, but he was a Republican congressman out of Texas too, and
Yeah, for a very long time.
yeah, very long time. Yeah, so
And he's also a supporter of the John Birch Society, which
yes,
is
he
good.
is. Yes, he is. So yeah, Ron Paul, my personal opinion, you're the greatest of all times. Shout out to Ron. Shout out to Ron Paul. Best
And
libertarian
his
there is.
son, Senator Rand Paul, is a good guy
Yeah,
too.
he is. He is. I know Trump's mad at him right now for the tariffs, and I know J.D. Vance came in for the last vote recently, so I was watching that. I'm all for the tariffs. That's where I can agree to
I am
disagree.
too.
I can agree to disagree, and I'm not gonna bash U.S. Senator Rand Paul on disagreeing with tariffs because that's his constitutional right. We shouldn't have to bash anyone just because we disagree on certain policies. Now, once the moment that Rand Paul starts turning us a socialist Democrat, then we got a problem. But I don't see that ever happening. Not in a million years.
Yeah, I don't
Exa-
think that's gonna.
yeah. So you
That's
know,
not gonna happen out of the Paul family. No way.
exactly. So I support the tariffs. I want income taxes to be no longer available in the United States of
Yeah, we need to
America.
get rid of the IRS.
Yeah, the
And
IRS are a bunch of
tariffs,
mobsters.
tariffs, tariffs are actually constitutional.
Yes, they are. I don't know what Rand Paul's thinking, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm not gonna bash him over it. I'm not gonna do anything like all the rest of the media people like and then all the some of the Republicans too. That's his right. If he wants to believe in that, that is his constitutional right. If he thinks that tariffs will not work in the United States, well, that's on him. But the rest of us don't want to pay any more taxes. I think Trump's got it right when he says that we need to have the tariffs replace the the income tax. We need to go back to that because we were thriving underneath that. Remember, Johannes? So
Well,
Trump
we
makes a good point.
thrived under the tariffs. We've always, and you know what else tariffs do? They bring the manufacturing jobs back to America.
Yeah.
So you
Bye bye
actually have
China.
Americans working again.
Yeah. Bye bye China. You hear that? Trump's saying bye
Yeah.
bye. Bye bye. So we're gonna see how this goes. I know prices are going up, and I'm not liking it. But you know what? If
Yeah,
it's
but that's
for
short term. That's short
that's
term.
what I was about to get
This
to.
can't happen overnight. You have to, they're going to have to rebuild the factories. That's going to take some time.
Yep.
So sure, the prices are going to go up shortly, but then once they get the factories and all the manufacturing systems set up in the states, you watch the prices are going to go down.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say.
But we can't
We're
panic
gonna
about it.
suffer. We're gonna
We
suffer a little bit, and I was a little bit upset because the prices did go high for a little while. But you know what? They're getting better. They're coming down a little bit, but you know what? We're probably gonna make some sacrifices, and that's just that. Some things are just gonna go up. If instead of like Trump said, instead of your daughter having $30, she might have two. And that's what we voted for, and and that's the thing is that we're gonna have to, it's gonna take probably about a year or two to get everything adjusted, and then we'll be back on the right track. But you know what?
It
In the
might
mean,
take a little more than a year or two
well,
because the
it
Bidens did so much damage.
exactly. But
But
I think it'd be a year or two because Trump is being very, very aggressive with the tariffs, and if he stays on top of the tariffs like he is, I see that we'll be all right. But I
well, and the
agree.
tariffs are a good negotiating tool
Oh
too.
yeah, absolutely. But I also agree with you, Johannes. It's going to take a year or two to get the manufacturing places up and running, people employed, all that fun stuff. It's going to
Yeah,
take a little
and then
time.
when the factories open, they're going to have to hire people.
Yep.
And here's another thing, okay? This is another problem we're going to run to. We have turned into a society where most people don't even want to work anymore. And you talk to any business owner, and the small mom and pops are feeling it more than any other business. But and they don't want. They're people that just don't want to work or are not qualified to work because our educational system has has gone to teaching DEI instead of the 3 R's like they used to. And I think the schools need to go back to teaching civics class. Actually, civics is what it was called in the 50s. When I went to high school, it was It was called government or American government. But nonetheless, civics is civics. You need to learn that. You need to know how our
Yeah.
government works. You need to know how our checks and balances work. They don't even teach that anymore.
No. Well, okay, Johannes. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate because I live in the younger generation that we've been in the workforce for quite a bit of years. I wouldn't say too long, but a short amount, or enough where we know where we're at in our generation. Okay, so I do agree with you that we do have a problem with jobs. Okay, we don't. There's not a lot of people, a lot of young people are not wanting to go to work or have several part-time jobs to make ends meet. The thing is that the companies are going, especially here in Indiana, they're going to have to start upping the pay. And when I mean upping the pay, they're going to have to make it livable wages. And when I mean livable wages, I don't mean the radical Democrats or the rhino Republicans that pretend to be Republicans and that are socialists. Um, requiring employers to pay $30 an hour. That should be up to the business, or $50 or $100 an hour.
Right.
That's going to be up to the employer. But cost of living is high. The rent has quadrupled. Food has went by times 20. Okay, you got gas that's screaming high. You have car payments that are out of this world. I've never seen car payments so damn high in my entire life. And so that's why I'm playing devil's advocate here, because I know it, because I lived through it. And so when you add all that up, you're probably going to be paying in bills about $4,000 a month. That's basic necessities, okay? That being said is
But here's Gabe.
go ahead.
Here's the reason. Here's the reason why the pay is so low. Okay, all these liberals uh, over the years they they start pushing for minimum wage, and as if that's not enough, they're making all these companies pay their employees um, insurance, like health insurance, and it's so hard to get health insurance by yourself.
Yep.
So you want to get a job with, and they're requiring them to pay workman's comp, all this stuff. So minimum wage is what, $7 and some cents,
Yeah, we've been
but then
Indiana's well far
but
behind
then
on
the
the minimum
companies
wage
are paying
scale.
like $100 per person for health insurance, another $100 per person for workman's comp, um, another $100 for whatever, okay, that they're required to pay by the government. So they're actually forced to pay the worker $300 an hour. And wouldn't it just be simpler if you make insurance affordable for the individual and their families, and allow the companies to pay them uh, all cash, and then you let the decision to get the insurance to the individual, because the insurance that the company provides for the individual might not necessarily suit that individual's needs or his family's needs. But if he has an extra wage that, all this and all this burden of all these things that they have to pay per worker, if that's all lifted, the companies could afford to pay $20 an hour, $30 an hour, $40 an hour per worker. And that would be plenty to be able to choose your own insurance. And then you have the insurance companies competing with each other. That would drive the insurance prices down, because they're going to go with the cheaper insurance that has the more benefits. Competition always does that. Uh, you know, that would make more sense than the crazy system we have now, where companies are required to give employees all these things, And then you wonder why minimum wage is so low because, the companies can't afford that.
So I guess what I'll say is okay. So I remember there's my counter argument to that. My counter argument is that I remember working 2019. I remember working in a factory, right? And I had to pay $88 a week for health insurance through my company. Okay, through the company, right? And then on top of that, I was
Right.
only getting about maybe 14. It was under $15 an hour. Okay, how the hell does that work? I have to cough up $88 every week on a 14.45, per hour salary. That doesn't make any sense. So I'll say this is that. I do agree with you. We do need to help. We do need help for. We do need healthcare reforms. No one disagrees with that. And we also saw with Luigi and Brian, the CEO of the healthcare. We saw a moral shift. I know a lot of people that were
Oh, the
supportive of.
insurance companies are ripping us
Oh,
off.
I
I
know,
mean,
and
there's no
and
question about
you
it.
know what? Here's what I gotta say is I didn't feel bad. Like I felt a little bit bad, but at the same time, I didn't feel too bad. Not all the way bad for the CEO of United Healthcare, because United Healthcare actually denied my claims as well, and and no one really goes after the health insurance that kill little Timmy with cancer, or grandma that needs her surgery. So and the United Healthcare system was scamming millions and millions of Americans, and we don't hold them accountable. We don't hold them accountable when they it's
Right.
legalized murder that these insurance companies are committing. So,
Yeah,
first off,
it
if,
is.
if we want affordable health care, we gotta put rules, and we gotta put more rules and more regulations in place with the health care. But at the same time, is I want less government. So I guess it comes down to morality.
Well,
Is
what we
what
really
is
need
what
to
we
do, Gabe, to make healthcare really affordable,
and
what
hold
we
on,
really need to do is
Johannes,
we need to go
Johannes,
back to the Hippocratic Oath.
Johannes, hold on to that thought. For all of our viewers watching, government health care will not work. Look at Canada. Canada is a joke. It takes almost 2 years to see a doctor with your health care plan. Go ahead, Johannes.
It's the same thing in Germany. It's the same thing in Germany and Great
Government
Britain and a lot of
government
other
health
European
care will
countries.
not work for not will not work for the American people. So we need to come up with something. And it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican, we need to find a solution, and unfortunately they're not going to do a damn thing for us. Go ahead, Johannes.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
tell you what the solution is. Our health care was fantastic before Obamacare.
Oh gosh, tell me
And
about it.
what we need to go back to the Hippocratic Oath. Okay? There used to be a time in this country, if you did not know the Hippocratic Oath, you would not graduate med school. Now, the Hippocratic Oath is out the window, and it's up to the hospital to follow the Hippocratic Oath or not.
Yeah.
And here, here are things in the Hippocratic Oath that are important, like the Hippocratic Oath requires doctors to provide 30% of their care pro bono as a charity to those who can't afford it. That's actually in the Hippocratic Oath. And I knew some doctors, like over here, we had this eye doctor in Michigan City, Dr. Hauk, who went beyond that 30%. And he was known for it. And he would fashion spectacles for kids from poor families. And I did landscaping for him. He was a very good man, and or he is. He's retired now. He's pretty old. He's got to be in his 80s now. But he did a lot of charitable care. And then you had other doctors who did charitable care as well in Michigan City, and they were all on the medical board. for what's now Franciscan Hospital, but back then was St. Anthony's Hospital. And our doctor, our family doctor, Dr. Rahim, was an excellent doctor, and he would do charitable care from time to time
Yeah.
for those who needed it. You know, that's what the Hippocratic Oath, along with other things like the Hippocratic Oath, the first tenet of the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm.
Yeah.
So if the Hippocratic Oath were enforced in our healthcare system, you wouldn't be having all these side effects from the COVID vaccine because any doctor loyal to the Hippocratic Oath would refuse to give that shot because of the
Exactly.
first tenet of the Hippocratic Oath do no harm.
Exactly. So, we'll see how everything, we'll see, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, how the economics and how the how employment and job manufacturing will succeed in Indiana. I believe Mike Braun will be a good asset in that, but we need to make sure that we're that we are that the companies are taking care of their workers and making sure that there's a livable wage without government involvement. I remember when the Republican Party
Well,
didn't support socialism.
The solution to that, Gabe, is okay. A happy worker is a productive worker.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
how do you get a happy worker? You give them a higher paycheck, okay? You have places in the workplace for R&R so that the workers can rest uh, during certain parts of the day. And I'm not talking about like an hour long siesta, but where they can have a break. And during their break, if they wanted to take a power nap for like 10 minutes or something like that, or if they want to have a nice atrium where they can enjoy the nice weather outside,
Yeah,
or,
like
you know,
maybe like an hour lunch instead of a half an hour lunch. I know some companies
yeah,
that give
yeah,
hour
stuff like
lunches.
that.
Yeah, I remember I used to work for a company that would let me, that would pay for an hour, that would pay for an hour lunch, and then if I exceeded that, I would have to spend the time over or whatever. But I still got paid no matter what, so it was really nice. But and then maybe and then an hour lunch, and then maybe 2 15s. That seems reasonable. I don't see that. But
Yeah, that's very reasonable. And if they wouldn't have all this burden, like forcing the government forcing them to pay all these insurance on per employee,
yes, I agree.
that would free up a lot more money to raise the salaries up. Okay, so the worker has all that extra cash in his pocket, uh, you know, and the worker can choose his own health insurance. Maybe the worker might not even want health insurance. You know,
Sometimes
that
the
should be up to the choice of
employers.
the worker.
Well, Johanna, sometimes the employer's health insurance is dog crap, so they'll have to go to another health insurance. So sometimes they don't even pay for the health insurance. I've been at jobs where I didn't pay for
Exactly.
health insurance because it's some of the insurance is terrible.
I mean, I don't have health insurance. I'll go to Canada to get my insulin because number one, a lot of people don't realize this, but uh, you know, one of the reasons why Biden got insulin to be cheaper was because uh, he had like backroom deals with the big pharma companies
Yep.
to put in graphene oxide in injectable medicines, including insulin. And I hear they're putting it in dental anesthetics now too.
Oh
Okay,
gosh, he's serious.
graphene oxide. I'm serious. Graphene oxide was in the COVID vaccines. Did you ever meet a vaccinated person that went crazy?
Yes.
That's the graphene oxide in the vaccine that does that.
It's
It
called
goes to your brain.
it's called the
It
members of
affects your brain.
look. It's called the members of WIBC. That's why they're all freaking crazy.
Well, Tim O, in Chesterton, he would always respond to Kathy Holland.
Poor
Uh,
Kathy.
so it looks like you're all up to date on your vaccines, right?
How's your 10th booster,
But
Kathy Holland?
I haven't seen her on Facebook for ages.
Kathy, if you're hearing this, we miss you. We miss you on Facebook, okay? I know Tim O and Johannes. I see them constantly talk about, did you get your 10th or 20th or 100th booster? Kathy Hollins, we need you back on Facebook. You know what? Trump, you need to sign an executive order to bring back Kathy Hollins on Facebook, okay?
Yeah, but anyway, graphene oxide it does something to your brain. I don't know if it disables the frontal lobe because you know the brain is a unique organ,
It really
and
is.
certain parts of the brain control certain things.
Yep.
And in the middle of the brain, like on the underside of the brain, there's a part of the brain that's shaped like a seahorse, and it's called the hippocampus. And they call it the hippocampus because that's the Latin word for seahorse. And the hippocampus controls all your emotions. So, like when you're angry, when you're happy, when you're sad, uh, that's all.
Oh, we're frozen.
That all comes out of the hippocampus. And the frontal lobes, just behind your forehead, uh, puts the brakes on the emotions. So, like the hippocampus, uh, you know, detects something that makes you mad. You get really mad, and you want to kill someone. Okay, but then the frontal lobes are like, stop, you can't do that. Okay, so what I think graphene oxide does, and this is what's making people go crazy and
And remember,
gives them all these
this is
crazy
just
mood swings and makes
remember.
them. Now, I'm not a brain specialist, but
Yeah, this
this
is
is
just
my
your
my
opinion.
this is logical thinking to it. Yeah, the graphene oxide, I think, disables the frontal lobes, which control rationalizing, and so makes the hippocampus go out of control. And that's why these people that are vaccinated are going so crazy. So now they want to put this crap in insulin. They want to put this crap in dental anesthetics. Graphene oxide is illegal in Canada. So I know I get my insulin in Canada. I can be comfortable going to Canada to get insulin knowing that it's clean insulin, doesn't have that shit in there.
I'm looking
And
something
hopefully,
up.
hopefully Bobby Kennedy is going to finally get that reversed. But, in the meantime, and there are other medications like Januvia, which is another medication for diabetics. Like
Well, I
over
just
here, I would be paying $600 a month or $600 for a month's supply of Januvia, whereas in Windsor, I can get that same drug, Januvia, for like under $300 for a 3 month supply,
I just googled it, and graphene
and I
oxide.
pay out of pocket. I pay out of pocket.
Now, Johannes, listen. I just googled this, and I want our viewers to also hear about this. I just looked at graphene oxide. I asked Google, "Is it in Ozempic?" And Google told me, "Yes, it is." Now that is why these people on Ozempic go off the wagon. They lose their marbles and they start screaming in the governor's office. They start screaming at people. That's why a lot of people that are taking Ozempic are going like Ozempic, zombie, crazy. They just start yelling at people over the
Well,
dumbest
graphene
things.
oxide will do that to people.
Yeah, so you know what? That's people. You know what? That's a side effect. It's a side effect of Ozempic. So Yeah, that's why I won't take Ozempic because there's a lot of side effects with it. And yeah, I will not be taking Ozempic since it's got graphene oxide in it. That I need to warn people because I know people that take
That's
Ozempic.
probably why the pharmacy where I get my insulin have has a lot of people coming from Michigan to get Ozempic because if that pharmaceutical company wants to sell Ozempic in Canada, they cannot have graphene oxide in it. It's illegal in Canada.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of companies are doing that. I don't know if you heard this about Kellogg's. Okay, Kellogg's had to make a different cereal to sell in Canada because the 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 colorings uh,
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
that are sold here are illegal in Canada. Of course, I think Bobby Kennedy finally corrected that, but
Yeah, Bobby
uh,
Kennedy did. I am so glad that was a smart move from Trump to actually bring on Kennedy.
yes, it was.
He should have done
Yes,
that
it
in
was. And
2016 and 2020, but I'm glad he did it now than later. Later than later than never. So, but
yeah,
I wanted to, since we're about over an hour in, I wanted to talk about Todd Rokita. And our favorite person, our favorite state senator, I call her Liz Cheney 2.0. Her name is Liz Brown. She's in the Fort Wayne area. And apparently, she filed a complaint against our against our state attorney Todd Rokita, state attorney General Todd Rokita, because of her past comments. So apparently, Todd Rokita was told by Liz Brown that she has family members that are illegal immigrants. And there was a strong immigration bill that the Republicans were trying to pass, but Liz Brown was against it. And ultimately, Rikita went on the air and said that Liz Brown and her was opposed against the bill, which was well known because I actually have a pass down to the state house, and I know that Liz Brown is not a real Republican. She's a rhino. But that being said, I go down there a lot, and here's the thing: is Liz Brown needs to stop being. I'm sorry, Liz, but you're being a pansy. Okay, you're being a dumbass, like Red Foreman would say. Okay,
yeah.
like you know that you have illegal immigrant family members, and why the hell did you file a complaint against Todd Rokita's law license? That is, you know what? Here's the thing: if you don't like what someone says, especially after you admitted to it, maybe you should shut the hell up, Liz Cheney. Okay? Good grief, man. Why would
Well,
you file a complaint against
on top of
Todd
that,
Rokita's law license
if
over what you
if
said, Liz?
if this state senator has illegal aliens and Todd Rikita's going after her, he's doing his job.
You know
He's
what?
doing his job.
You know what?
I subscribe to the Rikita Review, and he's got constant articles how he's going after illegal aliens in the state. That's his job. He's got to do his job. So she doesn't like it. Tough shit.
You know what, Johannes?
You know.
Johannes. I'm gonna make a promise to everyone in Indiana. I'm gonna call the immigration hotline and I'm gonna report her. Uh, and she's gonna have the paddy
Good
wagons of
idea.
ice going to her house. Ice, ice, baby, ice, ice, baby. Because you know what,
Put her on ice.
yeah, you know what, Liz, you were thin on ice, and now you broke the ice. So we're calling ice now. We're calling the ice experts now to come after you and raid your home, because you know what, you can't have your cake and eat it at the same time. You can't say that, oh, I oppose this bill because I have illegal immigrants, and family members. Well, tough shit. If my biological mother can come here legally, so can your family members too. So you know what, Liz? You just need to shut up or put up. And you know what? You need to actually recant and get rid of the disciplinary commission complaint that you filed against Todd Rokita, because it has no merit. And I don't care if you're a state senator or not. It has no merit. Your feelings got hurt, and you can't punish an attorney for saying stuff on a radio, okay? If that is the case, I know several attorneys that need to be disbarred, but unfortunately, Loretta Rush and Adrian Meering are not going to do a damn thing because they're a bunch of establishment rhino cucks. And all they do is suck the cock of the establishment and eat all their jizz because that's what they are. They're jizz gobblers, okay?
Yeah.
So, sorry I went off on a tangent, but you know what? I get tired of these crooked politicians always getting away with shit, and then the little man always gets screwed. It's just stupid. It's stupid.
Well, and we have, and in my view, Todd Rokita is a very good attorney general.
I would agree. Yes, I would
I was
agree.
at his gala dinner there when he unveiled his parental bill of rights. It was very well done. He he talked about what goes on at the school board meetings. He even mentioned about how school boards can even kick the public out if they choose to do so. And he recommended people contact their representatives to bring that to the attention of the Indiana General Assembly. And, of course, Senator Jim Tomes, which, Gabe, I know you know him pretty well. He was there. He gave a talk there as well.
Yep.
Uh, and I actually met Senator Tomes. I had a nice conversation with him. Uh, Very nice, very
You
good
know what,
man.
Johannes? You know what, Johannes? I just thought of something. I hope it comes true, but I would like to see Todd Rokita run for U.S. Senator against Todd Rokita against Todd Young. I would love to see that in a heartbeat. I would love to see that. I'd love to see Rokita destroy Young on the battlefield. Oh, that would be beautiful.
Oh, Todd Rokita would make a good senator.
Oh, he would. You know
But then
what,
who would
Todd?
we have for
You know
our
what, Todd?
attorney general?
If you're hearing this, run against Young. Run against. Put him. Put. Make. We need to put Young out in the pasture. It's about time. Young has done nothing for Hoosiers at all. Joe Donnelly has done more than stupid Todd Young. Okay, and that says something. He was only in there for 6 years. Okay, and he did more than Young has ever done for Hoosiers. Young is a piece of crap U.S. senator. We need him out.
Although Todd Young, I think Todd Rokita though is doing a pretty good job as our attorney general.
Yes, he
I
is. Yes,
mean,
he is. Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with him.
I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty satisfied with him too.
And he's a nice guy too. He even gave me a T-shirt at that gala dinner.
Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah,
I
Liz
mean,
Brown just needs to go fucking take a hike, and you know what? She needs to stop being at AOC. Okay.
yeah, and I don't think she's as attractive as AOC. Oh, I don't know if AOC is that attractive.
I think AOC is pretty hot, but at the same time, is I
I'm
call
sure
Liz.
she would be.
Look,
I'm
look,
sure she would be if she kept her virginity, but
look. What I call Liz Brown.
that's just me.
Okay, Johannes, I call Liz Brown Liz Cheney 2.0. Now I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, you can't see me, so hold on. Let me hold on. Let me do it for our viewers. Liz Brown. Indiana.
Now I wonder whatever happened to Liz Cheney. She came to Michigan City a couple of years ago.
Oh, screw Liz Cheney and the horse that she rode on.
Yeah, she's her and her father are both. They should both be in the trash heap of history now.
Yeah, well, someone needs to primary Liz Brown, or I call her Liz Cheney 2.0. I'm so sick of her. All she has done has been a thorn in the conservative movement. She killed constitutional carry with Guy Rufford, WIBC, and then with stupid, other people. And then Yale and National Gun Rights of Association had to come in here and help pass constitutional carry. And what was funny is a good friend of mine actually door knocked on her door. They were door knocking to pass Senate bill. I can't remember what the number was, but it was for constitutional carry in 2022. And they actually door knocked on Liz Brown's house, and they asked her if she supported constitutional carry, knowing that she didn't support it. and she was against the bill, and her husband goes, "No, we don't support constitutional carry because you know." Okay, well, screw you, people. I'm telling you, screw you, Liz Brown,
Yeah.
and your fucking horse that you rode in with. The Constitution says on the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed. It says that in black
And
and
I
white.
think we should take the Second Amendment all the way. The
I think
right
so.
of law abiding citizens to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon, and a well regulated militia is necessary for the protection of a free society.
I'll never understand why we took away the Second Amendments away from felons. I do believe. Okay, so here I have mixed feelings on it. I do
I can
believe.
understand while they're serving their sentence, but once their sentence is over, they should be able to have their guns back.
Now, that's interesting you say that because I agree with that, but only for non-violent felons. If you're a violent felon, I don't know. But the Constitution says shall not infringe. So you know what? I agree with your statement, Johannes. I feel conflicted on it because I don't think
Well, the thing
somebody.
about violent criminals, okay, if they committed such a heinous crime, like rape or murder or molesting a child, I think there's only one punishment that's fit for that type of crime, and that's the
Capital.
noose.
Yeah, or execution, either or.
That's the
Yeah, I
noose.
agree. I agree.
No, none of this lethal injection crap. Let's do it the old-fashioned way. Have a gallows set up in the public prison and hang the bastard, and let
Yeah.
him hang there so people know. Okay, you kill someone, you rape someone, you molest somebody's child. This is what's going to happen.
Exactly. I agree. I feel like if we start bringing those back, they'll start bringing some, morality change to our culture. And I don't care. This isn't,
Well,
this.
that's key right there. What you said. We've lost all our morals. We've
Yeah, we
lost
have.
all our morals. We don't we don't help the little old lady
Cross the road
across the
anymore.
street anymore.
We
We
don't
don't
say
help the
thank
little old
you.
lady with her groceries anymore. We don't help. Uh, we don't help the. You know. Do you know that? Okay, Scott has a friend who used to be a police officer, and he didn't keep his job. You know why?
Why?
You know why they let him go?
Why?
Because he was doing what a police officer should be doing, emphasizing the serving and protecting and serving the community. You know, if a little old lady needed to help with a flat tire, he would stop and help her, and he got called in for that. And his superior told him, "We're not AAA." Okay.
Wow.
Uh, he helped a family that locked themselves out of their car. He got called in for that. We're not AAA. And then he told me this story. Okay, there were a couple of young kids. He saw them rolling up a joint, so he was talking to them. His superior was giving them a sign to cuff him. So he told them, "Look,
Over rolling a joint? That's
uh,
stupid. I'm sorry, but that's
yeah.
just stupid.
Well, you see, this is because they have these quotas now. Just like the cop that
You know what?
arrested
I
me,
hate these
uh,
quotas. I really do hate these quotas because
they should be illegal.
they
They should
should.
be
And you know
illegal.
what's crazy is Indiana will always say that they don't have any quotas, but then they fire police officers for not meeting the quota.
They celebrate. They call these cops hometown heroes, unsung heroes. Like this cop that's
They're
involved
grandstand
in my
bystanders.
case.
They're grandstanders. Okay, that's what they are in reality.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, why should we have rewards for doing your job to begin with? Uh, but that doesn't mean entrapping people. I mean, really doing your job. Uh, okay. As an Orthodox Christian, I embrace humility.
Yes,
Humility is a good thing.
it is. It
We
humbles
don't
you.
need pride, and we don't need these things that promote pride, because pride is what is causing these cops to pull anybody over for a ticket, uh,
Raid
you
somebody's
know,
house over a piece of paper,
or entrap somebody for a DUI so they can get their numbers up. No,
or a
that's
speeding
not what
ticket.
policing is supposed to be. And then this is back to
Well,
where,
remember,
and I think
Johannes,
there's an ulterior motive for this. And
Johannes.
this is why they started with the defund the police, because this whole defund the police movement, and I've seen this, it's not just in America, I've seen this happen in other countries. Okay? What the mission is for the defund the police movement is, it's to get rid of the good cops. They want to get rid of the good cops. They want to filter out the cops. So those that really care about protecting and serving the community, get them out of the way, hire these young thugs that are yes men to whatever corrupt politician is in charge. And then, what happens when this goes out of control? I can tell you what happens. All you have to do is take a look at Ukraine. I mean, even before the war in Ukraine, Ukraine was always the most corrupt country in Europe. Um, you wanted something, you had to bribe somebody. You had to bribe somebody. You know, uh,
Well, you have to remember,
there was
Johannes.
once I took the train. Yeah.
Johannes, you have to remember that the police is not there to protect and serve. It's there to protect the state, and the Supreme Court has actually ruled on that too.
Oh, really? The U.S. Supreme Court or the?
Yeah, the U.S. Supreme Court. I can't remember. I think it was early 2000s or late 1900s. I can look it up. But yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Hold on. But go ahead.
Well, we need to go back to having the police be part of the community, and I mean really be part of the community and help out the citizenry. Yeah, part of the job of the police is to catch the bad guys, but another part of the police is to protect, is to serve. You know, they got to be there to serve the community, and it's not just have coffee with a cop at McDonald's. If a citizen is having a problem, whether it's an issue with their car or whatever, the cops should be there to help them. That's how it was. That's how it was in this country from its very foundation. And you don't have that anymore. And except for maybe in some certain few small towns and parts of America that are still old fashioned. And I say old. It's good to be old fashioned. I'm old fashioned. I'm probably even way old fashioned for my generation, and I'm a Gen
Okay,
Xer.
so Johannes,
But
Johannes, real quick, I found it. It was in 1981, ruling by the Supreme Court. A government and its agents are under no general duty to provide public service, such as police protection to any individual citizen. That's why you should that's under the police. Now you have to remember the police and sheriffs are two different things. The police works for the corporation, which is it can be the city. Most times it's the municipal city corporation. Okay,
yeah,
sheriffs are actually embedded
they're
in the
the county,
Constitution. Yes, and they're in the county, and they are embedded in the Constitution, and so therefore, uh, you know,
and they're elected.
and they're elected. But also, real quick, is they're also they can also be powerful than the president of the United States because I know because the Constitution says it is. They're actually more powerful than the president of the United States in that county. So and
Oh yeah,
sheriffs are bound by not by state code and not by municipal code. They're bound to follow the Constitution. So when people
and
talk
and
about
the
the
sheriff
police and
the
sheriffs,
sheriff actually has the authority to arrest a fed if he feels like
yep,
the fed is not obeying the Constitution.
exactly. The feds have a constitutional oath to follow and execute. So At the end of the day, is
And
that's
and
why I like sheriffs a lot more than
and
than
if you look at the way the founding
cops.
fathers laid it out, which is brilliant, you know, um, if you have a rogue sheriff, which we have in Lake County,
We have one
uh,
here in Marion.
we have the county coroner. The
Yep.
county coroner is the only one that can arrest the sheriff.
Yep.
See, this is my argument. Why don't we have this for our municipal police or even the state police?
Because Johannes, the cops work for the city corporation. They don't work for the American people. It's only the sheriffs that do. You're getting a
I know,
history
but
education,
we
our
this
followers.
we if can you think about it? Think about it, Gabe. If we were to change that, and you have the police chiefs elected, even if it's a small town like Michiana Shores, although we don't really have our own police department here.
You
We
guys share.
contract the Long Beach police, but you think about it. If if the general public in a given municipality were to elect their own police chief and their own second in command, like the county sheriff is elected, I think that's one way we can really put a crimp in all this police corruption. And I've talked to a lot of people, law abiding citizens, that tell me they're afraid of the police. And, frankly, if you're not committing a crime and you're doing your own thing, you're minding your own business, you're doing your own job, you're working, uh, you shouldn't even be afraid of the police.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be afraid of the police. You should only be afraid of the police if you're a criminal and you're breaking the law.
Yep.
But you have cops that are breaking the law. I mean,
You have
and
FBI
and it's
agents who break the law. You have CIA agents that break the law. You have,
it's
a lot of
up
law
and down
enforcement
the
break the
whole
law.
ladder.
Yep. Doesn't matter.
You know, and
National,
and
local,
we
state,
we we
they all
gotta
break the law. You have
we
state troopers that
we
break the
need
law.
that we need to bring the accountability back to the people.
Well, there'll never
The
be
people are paying
accountability.
these cops salaries, and if you want to have a good police force, you need to have a police force that's accountable to the public.
You also need to have a good leader. A leader
A good leader, yeah,
that holds himself and his team accountable. The problem is when it comes to the corporations of the cities or municipalities, they're going to work for the interests of the mayor, the president of the
yeah.
corporation. That's going to be the mayor. They're going to work solely for the mayor. They're not going to work for because the mayors in Indiana, it's common in most cities, but the mayors appoint the chief of police, and they're going to work at the
Well, yeah,
pleasure
in
of
a
the
city,
mayor.
yeah, but in a town like Long Beach is a town, Trail Creek is a town. The police chief is actually called the town marshal, and they're
Oh, I
appointed
haven't
by
heard
the
that in
town
a
council.
long ass time.
Yeah,
The
they're
town
appointed by
marshal.
the town council, and your typical town council is like it's an elected body that's 5 seats. Towns in Indiana don't have mayors. Towns elect a town council, and then the town council will elect a town council president and a town council vice president among the 5 council members.
Yeah. So.
And
Yeah.
typically, now some towns might have a sixth council member that's at large, but like in Michiana Shores, how it used to be, at least they may have changed now, but at least when my dad was on the town council here, in Michiana Shores, we had 5 wards, and each council member represented a particular ward.
Mhm. Yep. I know Indianapolis has the Unigov, and I hate the Unigov. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. We really need to get rid of it. All it has done is allowed more corruption, more fraud. It does nothing. We waste billions and billions of dollars on dumb shit. They literally spent over $100 million on diversity, who the hell cares?
Yeah, well, this
Nobody
whole
cares
diversity
about
crap
stupid
has got to stop.
diversity.
I mean,
God, we're
it
using
just has to
taxpayer.
stop.
They can't even fix the fucking potholes. Okay, we got craters the size of freaking the moon. Okay, and you can't even and you think it's appropriate to put funds for DUI? What is that helping? That's helping nobody. DEI is not helping nobody. It's not helping nobody. And Joe Hawk said
All
all
it
Joe
does
Hawks
is
is doing is
divide
getting
everybody.
drunk every night.
All it does
Allegedly.
is divide everybody.
Exactly.
And then you can't even say something without offending somebody.
Oh
You know,
gosh. I'm
I
sorry, but
remember
the
I
I'm sorry,
remember when
but
I was a kid.
go ahead.
When I was a kid, when I was a kid, okay, Michigan City has a huge Polish population. We have we even have a Polish Catholic church, Saint Stanislaus Kosta. And the Poles came here just like the Irish, just like the Lebanese. They came here to work at the Barker Haskell factory, which built boxcars. And that factory was located where the Lighthouse Place is today. Um, and you know, when I was in grade school, when I was in high school, we would tell Polak jokes. Okay, and there were kids of Polish origin would tell Polak jokes, and nobody got offended except for maybe a couple of people in high school. Uh, but I mean, I had a teacher who was a priest, Father Rakoczy. He was Polish. He did not like Polak jokes. I mean, he got really offended. But and then our principal was half Irish, half Polish, but he had a Polish last name, Prorok, which is actually it's even a Russian word. It means prophet, like the biblical prophet. Uh, he didn't like Polak jokes, but we told Polak jokes all the time. I mean, and we had we had we had kids of Polish. We had kids of Polish origin that would tell Polak jokes.
Yeah.
Everybody told Polak jokes. Everybody got along. I mean, we had. I mean, you can't do that anymore now.
No, you can't.
You can't
And
have any fun anymore because somebody's poor little feelings are hurt.
well, and I'll say this as being the minority. I blame it on the black community. I'm sorry, you guys can get pissed at me all you want to, but oh God, they get mad about the most dumbest fucking words and the most dumbest things. Us Hispanics, we don't give a crap. We don't let words hurt our feelings because we're tough. We're tough skinned and we're not a bunch of woke pansies who cater to the stupid Democrats. All Democrats have gone from harassing blacks to victimizing blacks, and it's still racism at the end of the day. And the
Yeah.
dem- and the black community cannot get off the Democratic plantation. They want to stay on there and stay like a victim. And you know what? It was the Democrats who started the Ku Klux Klan. It was the Democrats that chased the blacks out. It was the Democrats that would.
It was the Democrats that created the Jim Crow laws.
Yep, it was the Democrats that would burn crosses in the black community's yard. It was the Democrats that wanted slavery. And
Oh, they burn crosses in Catholic yards and Orthodox
yeah,
yards as well.
Democrats are the most racist. Has been the most racist party since day one. It does. You can't change anybody's mind. You look in history. It don't matter. You can say, well, oh, those are the old school Democrats. The Republicans are now the modern
Yeah.
Republicans are the old Democrats. No, it's still the Democratic Party at the end of the day. They just learned that black people go by feelings, and that's what they do. They know that they can trigger
Well, they pretty
the
much
black
destroyed
community
the black
emotion,
community.
so that's why they're able to manipulate the black community, and that's why they're able to say, oh, well, these words are offended. You don't want to do that because that offends your community. That offends your culture.
Yeah,
Us Hispanics, we don't give a
they
shit.
destroyed the black community. They
Yeah, the
really
Democrats
destroyed the
have.
black
Yeah, they
community.
literally have. They literally give them pennies on the dollar, and they go, okay, well, here's some housing that's like a shed. It's literally HUD. HUD. They use HUD, and they give and they what they've turned HUD into slave quarters. Okay, and that's what they give. They give the black community a slither of that, and they go, "You will be happy," and that's all you get. And wake up. That's
Look, I
that
remember
is
as a kid.
racist at
I
its
remember
finest.
as
But
a
that's coming from
kid.
the Democratic Party. Go ahead, Randy.
I remember as a kid. My mother taught in an all-black school in Chicago. My mother taught at Chicago State University. Okay, my mother came over from Germany. She got her PhD in English, centralizing in American literature, but primarily in African American literature. And I remember when I was really little, when I would go to school with her, all her students were black, and they were completely different from the blacks of today. I mean, these students actually wanted to learn stuff,
Yeah, they
okay?
weren't like
And
hoodlums nowadays. Oh gosh.
they, I mean, my
Wanna
mother
be
would teach them
gangbangers,
Shakespeare.
gangsters.
My mother would teach them Shakespeare, and 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 they were good people. They were good people. But the Democratic Party has totally ruined the black community.
Yep.
Um, you know, you meet a good old fashioned black person, like one of these black old timers.
They'll
Okay,
tell you how it really is. They'll tell you, man.
they
You'll
they'll
learn a lot from.
they would talk about how they would get a whooping if they misbehaved.
Oh yeah.
And now and the media plays a lot to do with it too. I mean
Well,
and Hollywood.
the media is owned by major Democrat holders, anyways.
Yeah, but you look at all the rap stars. Look at all the rap stars that Hollywood embraces.
Yeah,
What
they
are they
embrace
preaching in these what are they preaching in these rap songs? Gang
killing,
banging,
doing
drugs,
drugs.
rape. I mean,
Yep.
that's what's destroying the black community.
Well, and they think it's cool, and that's what Unfortunately, that's just gonna be that for decades because
Well, you see, it's designed. It's designed. Propaganda, Gabe. Propaganda is is a very dangerous thing, and propaganda. You see this with the Nazis. You see any color revolution. Like I've even seen this in Georgia and in Ukraine. Okay, like here. There's no reason why Ukrainians and Russians should not get along.
yeah,
These are Ukrainians basically. People don't even understand what the word Ukraine means. The word Ukraine, okay, comes from the old Russian and Slavonic word Ukraina, which basically means the corner or the borderland. And Ukraine used to be known as Ukraina Rusi, the edge of Rus. Okay,
yeah,
it was considered the borderland. But you start, Western Ukraine was occupied for a while by the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth, and then the Kingdom of Poland, and they wanted to force the Orthodox in that area to convert to Catholicism. And what they did was they issued a tax on all the Orthodox Ukrainians. So a lot of Ukrainians got irate. So what they would do is, okay, well, you can keep your Orthodox ritual, but you need to recognize the Pope. And if you do that, you don't have to pay the tax.
yeah.
And so that's how the Uniats were born. Or the Uniats, a lot of the Ukrainians call the Uniats Ukrainian Catholic. They're basically Eastern Rite Catholics. They do the St. John Chrysostom liturgy like we do as Orthodox, but they acknowledge the Pope, but they have this hatred towards Russians, and it's an irrational hatred. And and then of course the Nazis used the Uniats, and they used a guy named Stepan Bandera and you know, Shushkevich, that formed the UPA, or the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, that fought the Soviet army in World War II, collaborated with the Nazis. Uh, but then, but then again, when you started with the color revolutions, first the Orange Revolution, which
Hey, Johannes.
happened in 2004,
Johannes.
and then the Maidan, you have they started putting these slogans out. Moskalina Hilyaki, which basically means Russians to the gallows. And Moskal is like a derogatory term for Russian and Ukrainian.
Johannes,
And
just
that's how it starts. That's how this propaganda starts. And they're doing
Johannes.
the same thing in the black community. They're doing the same thing. And it's all designed deliberately to divide people.
Yep. Johannes, we're about at the 15-minute mark, a little less than that. So just letting you know that. So, and then keep going. I just wanted to let
Yeah,
you
I
know.
haven't even
Yeah.
had dinner yet.
Oh goodness, I bet you're starving. Yeah,
Yeah, I got to put it.
I had dinner around I think like 4 or 5 o'clock, so I'm getting hungry. Gotta have a midnight snack, My fat ass gotta have a midnight snack later tonight. I'll be up a
Yeah.
little bit later, but yeah. Other than that, uh, what do you call it? But yeah, they don't really talk about colorful revolutions in America because they call it, the media doesn't like to call it that, but that's because our country
Well,
does,
this
does it in
whole
other
George
countries.
Floyd thing was our color revolution. It was a color revolution.
Yeah, it
I
is.
mean, you look at the playbook for color revolutions,
It's
and you look
literally
how
it.
George Floyd unfolded, and they had that defund the police movement.
And then they
That's
had the
right
pandemic.
out of the play. This is
They had the
this. It's
pandemic
the
to
same
scare
playbook.
people. Yeah, they had the pandemic to scare people. That would force people to stay in their homes and not watch the election closely, so they can count the numbers up and
Well,
up and up.
the pandemic was something else, but
That was
I'm
under the
sure
New World
that
Order.
it was done to get people divided so they could see who are the followers and who are the ones that stand for American values. I think that's what the pandemic was supposed to be
Well,
about.
not just American
But
values,
when
it's traditional values, and for freedom and liberty.
yeah,
We were literally, it was literally the cultists against the liberators, and that's what we faced here.
right,
Every
right.
country faced it,
Well,
not just
I wouldn't say
Americans.
the pandemic was a color revolution, but it was again, it was a technique used to divide the people, and
Exactly. They will always divide and conquer.
it was also an experiment with the globalist elites to see how well they could get the people to comply. How have they softened the people? But it backfired because
It
it
did
woke people
backfire.
up.
Well, and you have to
Now,
remember.
George Floyd, on the other hand, and the Summer of Rage, and that started this defund the police movement.
Well, now they got the
That
Palestinian
was
movement doing that stuff. Remember
that
they?
was a classic. That was a classic textbook color revolution.
Well,
That
Johannes.
was it was the exact same tactics they used in Serbia to overthrow Milosevic. It was the exact same tactics they used in the Rose Revolution to overthrow Shevardnadze in Georgia and bring in Saakashvili. It was the same tactics they used in both the Orange Revolution in Ukraine in 2004 that brought in Yushchenko, who was nothing but a soy boy cuck, and then later the Maidan Revolution in 2014. I mean,
well,
like
look now, Johannes. They're doing the whole thing with the colleges and the Israel slash Palestinian movement right now. They're
same
dividing.
thing.
Yeah,
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 same thing.
yeah.
Exact same thing.
Yeah, because
And you
we went
see,
from George Floyd to Black Lives Matter to Palestinian Lives Matter. Palestinian lives don't give a rat's ass about anyone else's life. And second of
but
all, let's
you know
second
what
of all,
really
they would
irks me
kill
about
them.
the Israel
The
Palestine thing,
listen,
okay?
Johannes, listen. The fat ugly dykes at Harvard University would get murdered. Their heads would be put on a stick from the Palestinians. They don't give
Oh
a
yeah.
fuck about
Yeah, the
you.
Muslims will throw the
Yeah, the
The
Muslims
Muslims will throw
too.
the queers
Yeah,
off of rooftops in a
exactly.
heartbeat.
Yeah, like they don't care about your
And
life.
and I see this in Windsor, Gabe. I actually see this in Windsor. Okay, you do not see a pride flag much in Windsor anymore
Really?
because the Pakistanis, and all the other Muslim immigrants from the Middle East, they've had enough of the LGBT thing. They literally will rip pride flags off. And my friend lives next. Okay, my friend's next door neighbor is a tranny. Her
Oh
neighbors
no.
across the street are Pakistanis. Okay,
Oh, I bet she's
and
hated in that
of
fucking
course, my
neighborhood.
friend is French. And well, they uh, uh, the tranny will put the pride flag on his porch. The Pakistanis will come across the street and rip the pride flag down.
That is beautiful.
And then the pride flag goes back up. The Pakistanis, they don't even fly the pride flag anymore because they know the Pakistani neighbors across the street are going to come and take it down.
Well, do they fly it in their window
And
like
my
some
friend
people here
told
in
me this.
Indianapolis
It's
do?
hilarious.
You know, some people here in Indianapolis actually fly it in their window instead of on the porch now.
Well, you still see some of the pride flags there on some of the fancier houses that are along the Detroit River.
Yeah.
And the only way you see them is if you're aboard the Macasa Bay on a riverboat cruise, or if you're on a freighter going down the Detroit River from Lake Sinclair to Lake Erie. Uh, but yeah, uh, Windsor has a huge Muslim population, and they do not like the gays, and the Indians they have a huge Indian population there too, and they don't like the gays that much
Yeah.
either.
Punjabis never like never like
Especially
the
the
trans
Sikhs.
LGBTQ community. They do not. Very rare do you ever see a gay
But
Punjabi.
no, no, they're like wo gandu hai. No, but anyway, anyway,
They pay for
but
marriages, okay? So men actually get some money out of it. I'm
yeah,
making
well,
a
of
joke.
course,
I'm
it's
making a
to
joke.
get
My liberal
divorce money.
friends.
But anyway, Gabe, what really irks me about the Israel-Palestine conflict,
Yeah.
everybody talks about either the Palestinians are the victims or the Israelis are the victims, but who is really getting hurt? Nobody
Uh,
talks about that.
us
And those are the
taxpayers are getting
Christians.
really hurt. We keep funding a bogus war that has been going on for centuries.
And we're
I
funding
say,
both sides.
yeah, we are
And we're
funding both
funding
sides.
both
That's
sides to
fucked
play
up.
them off against each other.
Yeah,
But
we are literally
nobody is
committing.
talking about
Go
nobody
ahead.
is talking about the fact that an Orthodox church got bombed in the Gaza Strip. Another Orthodox church got bombed in Lebanon.
Here's
These
the
are
thing.
Christians. These
Here's
are Christians. They want nothing to do with Hamas or Hezbollah. They want nothing to do with Israel, except for maybe to visit the holy sites there. But they're the ones that are getting attacked on both sides.
well, and here's the bottom line is I think Trump got this wrong. I think what we need to do is get the hell out of the Palestinian and Israel conflict, and let Israel and the Palestinians hash it out and call it a day.
Yeah,
There's no need for us to be involved in that. You know what, I stand with Israel. I also I also, what do you call it, believe that every country has a right to defend themselves, and what happened last year in October was a complete disgrace. But I've come to realizations it's not fair that we continue to aid Israel and they continue to kill innocent women and children, and same with Gaza. And I think we just need to let them hash it out. It's going to be a nasty war, no matter how we look at it. And Israel has equipment to protect themselves. The problem is that Iran All these other countries nearby want to attack Israel, and that's the problem.
And
And we
I
already have
heard,
beef with Iran. So, all I gotta say is, if Iran wants to mess with Trump, I dare them to, because they're gonna get fucking wiped off the planet. They're gonna get wiped off this
well,
universe.
I heard that I heard that there was a missile strike at the Tel Aviv airport today.
Oh gosh, but Iran's getting on our
I
fucking
can't
nerves,
remember
and
where
it's
I
about
saw
time.
that.
I'm sorry, but it's about time that we just bomb the shit out of Iran and
Yeah,
just call it a day.
we don't need to get into any foreign wars.
Well, I agree with that, but if Iran wants to keep threatening Americans, they're going to suffer the consequences. You're going to have other men raise their sons and daughters for generations. So Iran really needs to stop being a total a bunch of retards and start actually caring about the citizens of their country instead of picking a bogus fight with America. We have Trump in office. You don't have Joe Biden. We don't have Joe Biden no more. So no more of your dumb shit,
No.
Iran. But I'm getting really tired of
Well, the
Iran.
thing about Iran is, though,
They're
they
dumb.
are an
Their leaders
ally
are
of
dumb.
Russia. So if we do attack Iran, Russia might get involved. Then we have an
Yeah,
even
that's
bigger
the other
war.
problem we face because Russia and Iran. What we really need to do is get somehow get we need to somehow split those two up, and then call and then we're
Well,
able to
I
get
tell you how we split those two up.
how.
It's very easy. Get rid of all the sanctions against Russia. The Russians, the Russians really would rather work with America. I've been all over Russia. I know that country very
The
well.
problem is Putin doesn't
Okay.
always honor the treaties. We've seen that in history. So
Well, Putin is actually more rational than, say, the mullahs in Iran. Uh,
I'd say Putin's
I
more
know for
rational
a
than Joe
fact the
Biden.
Russians do not trust the Chinese. The Russians do not trust the Chinese. And there was a war, you know, Mao Zedong got into a fight with Stalin and later with Khrushchev in the late 50s, early 60s.
Johannes,
Well,
just let me.
Stalin died in
Johannes,
1954.
Johannes, just
But,
Johannes. Listen real quick. We're about 3 minutes from our deadline, so let's just try to wrap it up, okay? And then
all right,
we'll talk more about it on the next week's episode too. But go ahead.
right. But just to make it short, okay, there were skirmishes with the Chinese and the Russians along the Russo Chinese border or the Soviet Chinese border at the time in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay, those two countries culturally don't match, except for maybe a group of Chinese that are in the northern part of China, especially in the town of Harbin, where there was a long time Orthodox mission there. But you know, the Russians, like when I was in the Russian Far East, the Russians in Khabarovsk did not like the Chinese. They did not want the Chinese in Russia. I mean, the way the Russians in the Far East talk about the Chinese is very similar to how Americans talk about the Mexicans in the Southwest.
That is hilarious.
It's they are like uh, they they are. I mean, like they don't want them there. Russia is Russia, and like the people I stayed with in Khabarovsk, they were constantly telling me, "Oh, the Chinese are flooding our markets with crap," and this was in 2000. Okay,
Really?
when I
Early
did the
2000s?
Trans-Siberian Railroad.
Early 2000s?
This was the year 2000,
Oh wow.
October 2000,
So during the
and
Y2K.
yeah, Y2K, and I mean this, and even now, like whenever whenever the Russians don't understand something, they'll say like, "Зачем ты мне по-китайски говоришь?" Which means, "Why are you speaking to me in Chinese?"
That's funny.
I mean, they really don't trust the Chinese. So what did we do when we put sanctions on Russia? We got them together with China. We got them together with Iran. Okay, If we were to lift all the sanctions against Russia, allow the SWIFT code to be operational in Russia again, okay, we could have trade with Russia. We can you imagine? Russia is the biggest country in the world. They have over 12 time zones in one country. They have some of the they have some of the longest domestic flights. When I flew from Moscow to Khabarovsk, it was a 7 hour flight. It took 7 hours to fly from Moscow to Khabarovsk, across 7 time zones. It was the same distance as from Chicago to Paris.
Wow.
And and the resources are phenomenal. You name it, Russia's got it. Rare earth minerals, uh, uranium, virgin forest, uh, coal, um, precious metals. They
Yep.
got gold. They got platinum. They got silver. They got palladium. Uh, they got all kinds of other metals. I mean, we if we could just work with the Russians and have deals with the Russians, and think about this, extend the Trans Siberian Railroad, have a branch of the Trans Siberian Railroad go up to Chukotka and cross the Bering Straits into Alaska, and then go into one branch go into Canada and the other branch go in the US. Can you imagine the possibilities with trade?
Yeah. I know. I
It would
know.
be
Well,
phenomenal.
here's the
And
thing
we
is,
have a lot of resources the Russians could use.
well,
And
here's
they have resources we could use.
well, Johannes. Here's the other thing is, I don't know if Russia actually truly will ever trust the United States, because the United States has done some shady shit to Russia, and and and
Yeah.
and so the problem is how are we gonna reinsure the citizens of Russia that they can trust us? 'Cause we actually done some bad
Well, we
things.
got the
We've done.
right man in the White House to do that now.
I know. Well, you're
The,
right, and that's what I was about to
the
go to
Russians will
because
trust Trump more.
oh
I
yeah,
know
they
for a
will.
fact the Russians will
Yes,
trust
you're
Trump
right.
more than they trust anybody
You
else.
know why? Because the Russians have the same type of temperament as Trump does. And that's why
Yep.
they like the brutal honesty that he has, and he's not afraid to say, "I'll bomb the living shit out of you." He'll say it.
And the Russians are straightforward like that
Oh
too.
yeah, they are. They are. And, they're just
I mean,
they're just
if a Russian's pissed off at you, he'll tell you.
oh yeah, he will. And he'll probably punch you in the face too.
Some might, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
some might. So
you know, I've been to Moscow. I've been to Volgograd, which used to be Stalingrad. I've been to Irkutsk. I've been to Khabarovsk. I've been uh, uh, pretty much all over Russia, and they're a wonderful people, and they're Christian like Americans are. They're a Christian society, predominantly Orthodox, but there's some other denominations there. But you know, and like the U.S., a lot of people don't know this about Russia, but Russia is a multicultural society as well, like the U.S. They're not a country of immigrants like the U.S. is, but they have a lot of indigenous people there. You know, in the Caucasus, they've got 20 different kinds of people. You got the Dagestanis, you got the Chechens, you got the Ingushetians, you got the Ossetins, you got uh, the Cherkessis, and then you go into the central Volga region of Russia. You got the Volga Tatars, you got the Crimean Tatars, uh, you've got the Mongolian Tatars. You even have Mongolian people in parts of southern Siberia, like in the region of Altai and the region of Tuva, very famous for their throat singing. Uh, in the Far East, you've got the Nanai. You've got, you can tell that the American Indians came from Siberia because when I went to the Russian Far East, I actually visited a Nanai village, and I saw their museum. They actually had teepees there, just like the American Indians. Their charms are exactly the same. I mean, except they were made with fur pelts, not with feathers. But nonetheless, a lot of the customs the Nanai have are very similar to the customs the American Indians have. I mean, there are so many different cultures within Russia alone that have been there for thousands of years. So, Russians can identify with Americans as being a multicultural society. And they, if we could just rebuild our trust with the Russian people, it could be a beautiful relationship, and it could be the type of trade that we could have would benefit the economies of both countries.
Yep. So, well, we'll leave off on
I
that.
mean,
We'll leave off on that note because we're over our 2 hours. So, um, we appreciate you guys tuning in to Hoosier Enquirer every week. We're gonna continue that, and everything will